Okay, we are live. Welcome, Desi.
Hi, Brendan.
Hello, darling. So we were just having a wonderful conversation. We probably should go live. So here we are. But so just to catch anyone up who's listening to these weekly lives as a new thing, you've had the bars. Now what's a foundation? Um, you know, bars is huge around the world right now, and I so love hearing all of these different stories going on. Like Ricky Williams was just in uh, Brazil doing a presentation bars and athletes for all the athletes down there, and to hear it going into things like that and how it's changing things is just amazing.
Wow.
How does it get any better than that? But also to, I know a lot of people get the bars done and it's so amazing. Like, I need my bars run right now. My head's just like, blah, 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 blah. So I know I need my bars run right now, but a lot of people get their bars run and they're like, oh man, that, and then it's kind of like, when can I get my next bar session? But there's also, after bars, you get to do this class called the Foundation, which I don't know about you, Des, but smashed my world apart.
Big time. And continues to every single time.
Yeah.
It's not a one-hit wonder. It's like you can have it as many times as you would like, but um yeah, I don't even know where to begin. But it's exactly what you said. It just sort of smashes your world open in a really gentle kind of way. And you can have so many new perspectives that you didn't even know were available just by giving yourself those designated days and hours of peace and question and hopefully humor.
Yes. Hey, definitely, hopefully, humor. That also is such a great tool that a day, giving yourself an hour a day and a day a week of something that's truly nurturing to you. I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on, especially and when it comes to the stresses of life. I've got to change my relationship, I've got to change my money, I've got the stuff going on with my body, there's my family, there's all these things, and I got to change, and I got to change, and I got to change. It's like the how much relaxation and that space of being is underestimated as what actually allows you to change.
Yes. So beautifully said. And yeah, this whole modern culture has a hustle and bustle and big industry on chasing change, and as if something's always kind of wrong with you. And I hear you, like, we all have lives and we want to improve things, and we desire more, we desire greater. That's an awesome capacity we have, but it can get really mixed up with the hustle to keep trying to prove you're something that you aren't. And in foundation classes, every time I've received one and also facilitated one, it's exactly that. It's just like dropping out of all of the prescribed changes,
Yeah.
coming out of so many things that you're just banging your head against yourself. And it's not even like goal setting, and it's just you get to such a space of peace with all of the body processes and bars as well, but with each other and with being with people and having a space of vulnerability. That it's sort of like I've often thought of it as just watching people, like all this energy sort of just falling out of their head, and change being, yeah, everything opposite of what we thought. And change sometimes is a word that is weird to me, because what really occurs is more like a acknowledgement of everything that's actually beautiful. And from starting to recognize your own strengths, then it's so much easier to just expand and stretch into more of what you are, as opposed to constantly trying to change who or what you are.
I love that, and I so agree with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, I just know that we can distress ourselves with change. Is possible, of course, and change is magic, and I love change. But when we're trying to get away from ourselves to be something else, man, that's just almost like an unkind way of expanding your life. And with access consciousness tools, it's such a kindness to you as you get clarity, a kindness to you as you can give yourself credit for what you are and grow the seed of you rather than trying to completely change it, who you are. You know,
Yeah,
it's the
totally.
kindest form of change, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, well, one of the things I love about you is you definitely your ability to put words to things, but
Mm.
also you're down to earth, and to me that is such a to be able to just be that, you
Mhm.
know, like to be present, to be vulnerable, to be just you. So I want to ask you with that, why access? Like, why
Mm.
access to you? What brought you along?
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I haven't been asked that in such a long time. Thank you for the acknowledgement also. Access was like I had put a demand into the universe when I had kind of been hit from a lot of different sides of life.
Mm,
And I grew up from a lot of awesome, there were a lot of awesome family members and modalities or lessons I learned. But what I hadn't ever considered was what I knew. And so when life kind of piled up on me between, grief or anger or frustration or confusion, nothing that anyone had ever shown me or taught me was working for me to continue thriving as me. And I just remember putting this demand, like, no matter how hard I study, because I can be a little bit of an overachiever and try to figure out every possible way to to do life. And nothing was, there were things that were maybe opening up some avenue of change or healing, but it was distressing and frustrating for me how slow it was, because I just knew, like, that I must be at some deeper level more competent, not just in this reality, but competent for me, like having my own back. But it wasn't accessible. And so how it showed up, or that it showed up, was just under a demand of, tears and frustration, that there was nothing I was learning that was giving me the kindness to really set myself in a direction of success and thriving. And then someone invited me to my first bars class, and I just knew that I was getting closer to my own competence, my own capacities, because every class I attended, listening to Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here, it was like unraveling all the places I was trying to smart myself through situations rather than know.
yeah,
And I just kept relaxing and relaxing and relaxing. It was like coming out of a high anxiety of, no matter how smart my answers were, I wasn't happier. When I got more relaxed with clarity, I got closer to me, and like closer to the earth, closer to everything that's actually, I don't want to really use the word honest, but congruent. Congruent. And so it's taken me many years of classes, because where I had made myself smart was very strong. So it's like having to really trust the muscle of trust, and learning with the tools how to give yourself the credence of your own competence. And it can be scary sometimes, but I also will add one more thing about why access. Um, I didn't I wasn't satisfied with being given answers. I
right.
wanted I wanted to trust me, but also there's a certain level of challenge in life that gives me a thrill of getting to be me. And I think this reality is all about handing you the prescription or the answer, but you're not really getting to you, and you're not getting to grow into something. And I was getting really bored with not continuing into more growth as an adult and as a powerhouse. Like, I don't want just answers and prescriptions. I want to become more competent, and not just for myself, but to be a strong arm for anyone I approach.
Well,
Access was just like, it was just like, here's you, and here's a bunch of lies, and here's a bunch of beautiful ways you can get to you. But it's takes you on a challenge. Like
yeah,
you gotta be willing to get in there, as you know.
totally, totally. And you know what I realized for myself too is it really does do that. Like it really does expose, okay, here's what's true, here's what isn't. And it's so much work
Yeah.
to keep believing in what isn't true for you.
Yeah, it's
It's
exhausting.
exhausting.
It ages you and it makes you grumpy. I was
Totally. But the other part for me, like one of the gifts that I got early in my sobriety, the sponsor I had at the time, and I just, this guy drove me nuts, but I am so grateful for him. One of the things that he did was he was like, all right, you need to call me every day and you need to tell me exactly what's going on, what's, what you're choosing, what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. You need to learn accountability.
cool.
I hated calling him every day, and I called him every day, and would talk to him, and, different things would come up. But I look back on that, and one of the things I realized for me is access, and it's access. So we talk about access, the foundation class, these different classes, but it's all about being more of who you are, being more conscious in your life. And that for me is, it's knowing when you're bullshitting yourself, knowing when you're choosing, upset with other people, knowing that your choices are actually creating something that's not working out so well. It's knowing.
Yeah. I so and it gives you such a, as you practice and you do more of that and your margins change from bullshitting yourself to being more
Yeah.
honest with yourself. And I know for myself, yeah, you go through some challenges because you first have like the tough love with consciousness, and then you learn how to kind of do tough love with yourself. But the reward eventually starts to become something beyond measure, of where your life is this constant building of something you're so proud of. Everything is like something you created and you chose. And I went out of, I left a life of like trying to do it right, mainly for other people, a people pleaser and trying to do everything right. I left that life into creating something I'm truly proud of, from to give to myself, but also to share with other people. Like every single day is a continued construction of something I can say I created. And that is like it's like self-trust. It becomes a self-honoring, and then you kind of grow beyond even self. You're not looking for yourself anymore. You know who you are. And I think it's just made me stronger as being a gift in the world. um Gosh, it's so interesting to me. I just had this whole bunch of things I wanted to say. I'm like, how can I say that? But I know, speaking from myself, I always wanted to bring something to the world. I wanted to create a beautiful feeling. So like as a musician, I could gift music, but it just never really was enough. There's got to be more I can do than that. And now it's all these years of these tools. It's when we come out of fear of that tough love, and you start growing a life that you're really proud of, that's like this ripple effect. Your life becomes a gift on the world and with the world.
Yeah.
um but then you're not hiding all your mistakes from yourself. It doesn't hurt you. You can't hurt your own feelings anymore. You're
I
like,
know.
it's just a completely different way of functioning. And whether people go to one foundation or many, as a facilitator, I've seen people come in just so distressed or anxious or wanting to avoid the class like the plague, and 3.5 days later be hugging everyone, laughing, rolling on the floor, like getting a kick out of something that they took so seriously. Being touched by a stranger. I mean, the most amazing things. Even if that's all it was, you're in a completely different future now.
Yep. That to me is one of the things that inspire me so much with being a facilitator is the endless examples of extreme courage that I see choices like that. Like to choose to come along and have every single fucking wall and barrier in the universe up, solidified in concrete around you to, a few days later being like hugging people. That takes some fucking balls.
Yes, it does. And that's when we really all fall in love with each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love
you're one of those people to me, to give you an acknowledgement back. Like, I've seen you so courageous and so vulnerable and change, and not have to hide it from the world. And that changed the world. And that was like, wow, if he can do that, then I can do that. And then that ripples through the whole world. And I'm kind of over the modern reality where you're supposed to like people because you agree with them or not like them because you don't, but you fall in love with people because they actually like are willing to be exposed, good, bad, and ugly, and look at stuff, and you realize that you got the same stuff too. And wow, we're all like, it's an environment of learning to honor and love each other in such a different way.
Yeah. Well, and also having that with yourself, like, man, I couldn't receive, and thank you for that acknowledgement. But I couldn't receive that love. And I've been using these tools now for like 16 years. And this has been recent. It's taken me many years to get to a point where I'm so proud of myself, and I have so much caring and for me that I love having that with other people.
Well, and if it took 16 years, when you consider most people
I'm
are,
slow.
wow, they might not ever even know that's possible. And I think that's
Yeah,
the beauty of a foundation. Like, wow,
totally.
16 years and you could fall in love with yourself. That's like, that's nothing really. And the other thing about foundation that I've got to say that I've experienced every time on both ends of class is that whatever occurs in those days is just usually ends up just being something so awesome. But it'll be 15 years later that you realize that seed you planted really did take root. And when you give you with a space of consciousness, even if it's uncomfortable or if it's fun or whatever, you're breaking down the separation between you and you and you and you,
Yeah.
like a foundation class, you finally are like, all right, fine, I'll consider caring about me. and then it continues into who knows how far. But I can't tell you how wonderful it is to hear you say that proud of you is kicking in, because that's like, isn't that the most beautiful beginning of a whole new world?
Yeah. Well, totally. And it's like in all we're all different, and it's like for everyone, it's like, what is it that you desire? But when I look back at my life, I've had so many things that I thought life was about that it turns out it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
For me, I always like I feel like I spent the last kind of 40 years of my life getting back to the first part of it. It's like you
Me
come in
too.
and I mean, even with messed up people around you, it was still just like everything was just like, oh my God, look at the trees and how do they work and how do the stars work and where are everything was curiosity.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and for me, all I truly wanted was to like myself, to know that me liking me was what I could contribute to others.
Yeah.
When that's not, it's just like, what's the point?
It's true. And when it's like, there's that, when you said 40 years to get back to that, I can remember like learning how to not like myself. Like, do
Wow.
I have like kind of like, do I have to do this? Like, this is what I really liked me and I was liking the adventure of life, but I guess I have to now start looking at these things and valuing these comparisons um and so it's so beautiful how access consciousness sort of presents you with that just because you were invited to maybe a majority rule point of view or what everyone else was doing, you can undo it. It's never too late to, undo all the insanity and have you again.
Totally. And it truly never too late to make a
Never.
difference.
No matter how long it takes and no matter
But
how old you are.
I guess a lot of people have that where it's like, oh, well, I've lived with it this long. I might as well keep putting up with it. You know, what if today was the day that you changed everything?
Yes. What if? And then that door that opens, once you were like, all right, fine. Once you walk through one of those, like, I think of them as like secret gardens,
You
you
say
finally.
that. I love the way you say that because that's exactly how people's heads are. Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but it's like as a kid I loved the secret garden, and when she finally like gets in there and she can like take this garden and turn it into another thing, but once you get past that first or second threshold, you finally like, fine, I'll consider it. All of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, your whole life starts to become this adventure again of opening up pieces and parts of you that are also in communion with all these great mysteries. So it's not just falling back in love with you, but falling in love with your communion with everything, your communion with everything again. And I remember the very first time I was sitting in class and I just felt this, I finally was willing to choose, like, let's go, let's go. And I have not stopped. It has been a relentless opening more doors and just, I want to keep going. I want to keep finding out. I would like to have, I would like to never lose track of that sense of adventure and the joy of being alive ever again. And so then we end up wanting everybody to know about it because it's too great.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So there you
Yes.
go. That was very well put. And then we want everyone else to know about it. So here we are as access facilitators. Come on the adventure.
Come play.
Come play. There you go. There's your invite. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you for being you. I just adore you. I think you're wonderful.
Right back at you. A true gentleman and such a courageous one, so kind and so potent. You are a huge gift in my life. And anybody out there, the other thing is you find some amazing people, man.
That, yes.
In case you've given up on people, there's some really beautiful people who are also asking questions.
And they're like, like, they're people, but they're more like not people.
Yeah, so they're more like trees or something.
They're more like trees or horses or something like that. Maybe. So. And one last thing before we finish up is, as I've mentioned on every one of these lives, we have foundation classes going on around the globe all the time. There are hundreds of facilitators facilitating these classes, but also coming up in, I think, around about a month, we have the Global Foundation class with Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. And that one is just, it's not one to be missed. So check it out on accessconsciousness.com. There you have it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Okay, bye. Bye, guys.